Fire danger beginning to trend upwards in Western Canada. We've seen fires start to get very active in eastern Manitoba yesterday. The warmth is coming in. Areas that did not receive a lot of rain in Manitoba especially are reigniting. Areas in Saskatchewan that didn't seem to stop burning actively are still burning actively, and with the warm up coming into BC, we do see an uptick of our own fire risk here. But the good news is we got warm weather coming to Western Canada. We're going to talk about it all right now. Let's go.
There it is.
This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
I'll watch the video later. They try mopping this. Starting to see temps warm up. It's only right now 12:31. And we got 20 down in Castlegar, 20 at Penticton reported, 20 almost reported 30 minutes ago in Kelowna, and a little bit cooler in Williams Lake, but Quesnel bumping up to 16 too. That's good to see. I'm about to go to town here in a few minutes. Kamloops around 19. Yes, Revelstoke around 19. So some warmer temperatures already. We'll come back and look at this in a minute and see how warm it'll get. We look at BC over the last 48 hours, more or less. You can see that we have this flow still coming in from the Pacific that's bringing moisture, that's bringing cloud, that's bringing enough humidity and moisture inland, precipitable water that it can make clouds and whatnot in the afternoon. So we've had a couple pop-up thunderstorms here and there. Saskatchewan had some down weather, but it's starting to warm up there. Alberta having a lot of thunderstorms this week. Nothing too major, though, for them. Of course, we had the tornado in BC that was confirmed. Northern Tornadoes Project confirmed May 21st. A landspout type tornado had happened. EF0 preliminary rating, 54 degrees, 123.9 west. That is, of course, in the Vanderhoof region. Witnesses captured a video of a landspout tornado. We've seen that in the channel here. Feel free to go look back at it. Probable tornado in Vanderhoof, I believe, is the name of my video. And if we look at the last 2 days for Manitoba and Saskatchewan, you're going to see those fires kick off yesterday right there on the border country near Ontario border there. So you've seen those fires really pick up. What are they doing today? Can we see on SAT? Here we are coming into this morning. You can see a little bit of that smoke is up there, is kicking up, and then you're starting to see it pick up right there. And it's also probably helping a little bit of those cumulus clouds that are popping along there. So it looks like a bunch of fair weather cumulus clouds, a little bit of extra heat in the area. Seems to help thicken up the band particularly. You can see where the fires are. They're in this quadrant here. There's a number of them. And then watch where the fair weather cumulus pops up right over top, more or less. The thickest of it. The only thing on the bad weather battle board right now, it has to do with the nor'easter that's coming up towards the Maritime provinces there. So we have lace sweat winds and wreck house winds forecast for Cape Breton Highlands and Newfoundland southwest coast. It's the same wind thing. It's just they have different regional names for it. This is for smoke, obviously. Special air quality statement for much of Saskatchewan, like nearly a fifth of the province under that smoke advisory. And then here's the weird thing is that we're seeing that smoke come from the wrong direction. So it's actually bringing smoke down to Winnipeg. And what I was told yesterday was that the smoke was in the upper levels, Mike said. So not really settling into town, but that gave you a hint of just how hot it was burning yesterday as well. So the Nopaming Provincial Park wildfire, it's spreading downwind. You can see a lot of activity around the Ken fire on the Ontario side there, is on the Manitoba border as well. Here's the Nopaming Provincial Park fire. As you can see, it's like quite a area front. And I can't tell you how much of this is actually from direct fire and how much is from the smoke that the satellite's picking up, right? But it sure seems to be a very large area that's burning. And like we were saying on the podcast last night, with the heat coming from Manitoba, I don't see ceiling anytime soon for what those fires could do. They very much have a chance to do some extreme things for quite a while here. We have quite a bit of temperature in the pluses for you. These fires are starting to get active again across Lake as well. And this guy farther north of the Paw, good to see that the area around the Paw itself has been quite quiet. Saskatchewan, some of these fires, now there's more activity now, but some of these fires were still pretty active. The Camp Fire and the Shoe Fire were active this week, despite the conditions for burning being a little bit down weather-wise. We see more of the fires responding there positively. These dots at Fort McMurray are probably related to industry. That could be a fire, but we got lots of gas flare-offs in Alberta and on the BCP side. So until I know there's an exact location for a fire, like if I'm looking at the Alberta fire map or the BC fire map and it says, oh, there's a fire here, and I go and look and I see a red dot, then okay, we can equate that. But other than that, it could be just flare-offs from oil and gas and things like that, or even automobile fires. Now we know this is fire, and you can see here's an organized a little bit of a front there, so some increased burning already in the area to the northeast of Fort Nelson. But other than that, in BC, not much for activity going on. Not much of activity going on. This is probably industrial, for example, too. And hard to say what that is. That might be fire activity. You can't read too much into heat maps, but they can give you an indication of like how our fire's responding. Same with the satellite imagery. We can look at that and see the columns of smoke and be like, well, those fires are taking off and ripping. So sweet bugger all coming to Manitoba for precipitation for the next little while. We're a little luckier here in BC where we don't seem to get very long before rain tries to visit the province. A bit of a drier stretch than usual, but you can still see some of these blue areas are probably going to be thunderstorm. The warmth will be enough. There's enough of this crap still coming in off the Gulf Coast there that, occasional thunderstorms seem to be the pattern right now, and always non-severe, of course. Doesn't mean they can't make a tornado like we saw in Vanderhoof. So Sunday, you can see that big low off the coast is trying to move in. That's what we're seeing here. Look how she moves in there. It starts to spin on up from the south, put a little bit of precip into southern BC. Probably going to see some thunderstorms mixed with that. But look, our flow is coming from the south, so that's good news temperature-wise from us. It's going to keep delivering us warmer weather into next week. And so we got this bit of a warm-up this weekend where we're now into the 20s in BC. Look at the heavy precip, though. I mean, this isn't the case for you if you're on the coast. You're looking like almost atmospheric river-like conditions there. Well, meanwhile, we're going to be enjoying a little bit of a warmer situation in the BC interior. But look how dry still South Coast is and southern Vancouver Island. That's bad news for them. They are in drought conditions in Vancouver Island. We're not seeing much rain up in the northwest. They're in drought conditions as well. Bam, there comes some precipitation in next week. Keep looking at the models. They keep saying different things. Yesterday I had like next Thursday, big thunderstorm potential in BC. Now I look at the models today and it's like, well, some thunderstorms. I'm sure I'll look at it again tomorrow. I'll say big thunderstorms. So I'll circle Thursday next week on the calendar. We're going to have precip moving through, a new low coming into BC, moving on through into Alberta there, and that'll probably involve thunderstorms and whatnot as well. But this is, a week out now. We're looking May 30th, so we're not going to read too much into this. But look at this. This looks positive to me for more warm weather than we've been getting, right? And I mean, it couldn't stay as cool as it's been staying forever. But how about that on Saturday? Some 20s into the prairies. Look at the North, Hay River, Northwest Territories into the 20s. It's crazy up there how much they've been getting warm weather over the last bunch of years. I can't say it enough. The BC interior, if you're in the low places, the upper level air is still going to be kind of cool. So unfortunately, that means we won't get the warm weather at elevation here necessarily. I mean, if we go look at Wells, for example, 20 in Horsefly, 17 in Wells. Okay, well, we might get a little bit lucky, but look into the Caribou Mountains. No, not quite the case for them. They'll stay quite cool. 11C as you get into the higher mountain ranges, right? So that just gives you an example. If you go a little bit higher up, the warmth isn't quite there, but still 20s on Saturday. That's nice. That's really nice. We finally have a night where it's not freezing somewhere nearby here. On Sunday, what are we looking at for temperatures again? Warming up in the prairies big time. So high 20s in Alberta, 20s up into the Northwest Territories, 26 up there. Unbelievable. It's still May, and they're getting 20s now into the Northwest Territories. I mean, keep tell me climate change is a conspiracy hoax, and I'll keep telling you why you're wrong. 26 degrees in Vernon on Sunday. BC looking warm through the interior. 20s, 27 Kamloops, even up into the Caribou. 20s, low 20s. Nice. Prince George barely making it, but you probably will during the day. That's just one look at 1 hour. Maybe if we bump ahead at an hour, or so. That's really hard to do. Bump ahead an hour or two, we might see a little bit difference. Okay, what about Monday? No, we're cooling off just a little bit on Monday afternoon. Still 20s in southern BC. That precip is working its way along the coast, right? So the coast taking some of the precip. Could see some thunderstorms pop up through the BC interior on Monday again. That is a possibility most of these days. Problem with this instability is it's making forecasting a little bit more difficult than you'd like. Look at Alberta thunderstorm breakout on that day. Let's bump ahead to Monday and see where we're going. But a pretty nice weekend there, pretty nice weekend, and hot temperatures into nearly the 30s in the Northwest Territory. This is bad for fire weather. It's bad for fire behavior, especially if we look at the kinds of humidity that are associated with this. So what kind of humidity are we looking at? We're looking at big time low humidity, big time low humidity, 20%, whatnot. This is active fire weather. So we're going to keep seeing these fires responding, even though the temperatures aren't crazy. We're still at crossover conditions already for you, Manitoba, and it's only going to get warmer and warmer and warmer as we get into the week for you. So this is concerning for me, for sure. Really concerning for me. These low humidex values all through the Manitoba, Ontario, into Saskatchewan, even North BC, North Alberta a little bit, and certainly up in the Northwest Territories. Active fire weather coming together now. We just need the fuels to dry out more and more as we get into this pattern. And that probably is happening or will happen, depending on the region there. 20s on Tuesday, low 20s in much of the BC interior. So this is a much nicer pattern than we've been in. Look at this, Wednesday, bumping on up in BC, bumping on up all across the board. We're talking high 20s by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Prince George, 26, Fort St. John, 28. Fire weather, active fire weather in the province of British Columbia and all of Western Canada. Low humidex values in the BC interior, probably going to see crossover fire weather in some places where the humidity is lower than the temperature. And if you add a little bit of wind here, we haven't even looked at wind yet. We'll maybe do that in a future forecast. I don't want to get too long on this today. As you can see, we are benefiting in the BC interior from this warmer weather. This low pressure is helping to drive it northward. This high here is help steering it northward as well. One's going counterclockwise, one's going clockwise like they like to do. And here we are. Well, if we go look at Thursday now, Wednesday's the hot day, Thursday's the cool off for us. And that's when we might be seeing thunderstorms break out in the BC interior. And I'm sure how that will look will change a bunch of different times. But there you are, Winnipeg in the 20s at this point. Warm. And if we just keep bumping on through, Fort McMurray, almost 30, up into Northwest Territories, Yellowknife, hot, Flin Flon, Manitoba, hot, active fire weather returning to Western Canada. Still very warm, getting warmer in Manitoba next week. Hopefully there's a change in this and you get spared, but this is what it's looking like it's going to happen. There's going to be the big warm up there. And at some point, all this extra heat in the system is going to start. It will be responsible for a change. You know, you add too much heat and it's going to at some point draw cool air down, make a large system, so on and so forth. But we're looking at warming temperatures in BC much of the next period coming up. And seems like as we get into June, we're going to be coming into warmer and warmer temperatures. We're going to be coming into that active fire weather. This is bad news for the Northwest. My God. And what does this mean for fire weather? Means we're seeing it start to get worse in Manitoba. It's been bad in Saskatchewan. They didn't take near enough of that precip. They had the cool weather, though, to help keep conditions down, so fires weren't burning very aggressively, but nothing got put out there whatsoever. We're seeing that now reaching the Northwest Territories, becoming more and more high in Manitoba as you get through the weekend. Watching Saskatchewan get real bad, northern Alberta get real bad, northern BC going to get real bad as the heat keeps building there and there. Things drying out. Now seeing next week into even the Caribou potential during those warm days, and now we're looking at possibly extreme conditions by this time next week in parts of the prairies and whatnot, especially maybe even northeastern BC catching some of that extreme burning conditions. So we're going to see fires become the story here for a little while, friends. And, you know, where is the drought? It's that area. Northern Ontario, Northwest Ontario, Eastern Manitoba didn't take hardly any of that rain last time through. Almost none hit that part of Saskatchewan. Fort St. John area still in a high category drought. If we go through the week and look, it's just going to get worse and worse. The drought conditions, we need this time of year to be producing a lot of rain for us. And I've been wondering, you know, are we going to see the pattern break? So far, we haven't really seen the pattern break, the upper level low pattern. No. Here it is there today. You can see it it's still there more or less. Next week, on Monday, it's still there. Tuesday, it's still there. So we haven't seen a break in the pattern yet, but we're seeing the pattern steer warm weather into us, which is another possibility. There's a break in the pattern, kind of, but then this guy comes in and he's stronger than ever. So we're still seeing that upper level low pattern, which to me, in this high pressure block, though, is going to keep it away. So if this high pressure block develops and can stay there for any length of time, that should be at least a temporary pattern change for us in BC until this upper level low can maybe push back in and reestablish itself. But this is the big game, you know. If this upper level low digs in and gets greedy and angry, it can be responsible for a January. But if it starts to get beaten out by things like this high pressure bulge and the fact that we have unbelievable temperatures going on in the United States, right now, unbelievable temperatures down there for May. It's very, very hot in North America in places. It has been since March. There's been places in North America hitting 30, most days since near the end of March. So there's a lot of heat in the system, and that's the thing we're not sure about for this fire season yet. Do we get this pattern mostly of the precip and cooler weather keeping the jet stream to the south of us? Does that get pushed off and the heat develop and take over? Is there a combination of the two where this moisture puts in, except it now is triggering because of the heat a lot of thunderstorms and maybe not high precip thunderstorms? So like most years I have an answer for these things, and it's just like, well, sorry, we're in the ENSO neutral phase. I don't really know looking out how things are going to balance themselves out. Well, that's all I got for you so far today, friends. Hit like, share, subscribe. I really need help with the channel here. Consider becoming a Patreon member or a donor or a channel member. There's lots of content on both Patreon and on the channel here that you are not able to access unless you're a member of the channel. So gifts for you there. I appreciate everybody who is putting into the Patreon. You are literally keeping me going. And you might think your $1 or $5 isn't that big of a deal. To me, it really is, because it all adds up. And that's how I've been able to maintain a life now as a content creator in poverty, sure, but I keep growing and this keeps getting better. It keeps getting better, and I'm getting closer to being able to have make a sustainable thing here where I can just be the caribou weather dude and maybe make less bullshit videos and stick with weather more. I'm still just trying to do anything I can to grow the channel right now. And thank you for everybody who's helped me get there along the way. Okay, we'll talk to you soon, friends. Bye now.